Chosen ones, you are denied withdrawal service at this bank. 7 minutes later, the manager gets fired on the spot. You enter the gleaming fortress of finance with calculated purpose. Every aspect of your appearance designed to trigger their assumptions. Clean but unremarkable clothing, worn wallet edges visible when you adjust your jacket. Calm demeanor masking the weight of hidden identification against your chest. The institution surrounds you with manufactured exclusivity, polished, marble floors, artificial scent of wealth, hushed conversations calibrated to signal status. This climate-controlled environment engineered to elevate some while diminishing others through atmospheric pressure. The invisible architecture of discrimination built into every surface, sound, and interaction. You understand the game before it begins. The slight curl at the corner of their lips when you approach the velvet rope. The performative glance at the watch is worth 3 months of what they believe is your salary. The barely perceptible nod to the senior teller who suddenly becomes fascinated with reorganizing already perfect stacks of deposit slips. A choreography of exclusion performed countless times daily. The practiced synchronization of staff trained to filter customers through invisible assessment. Their silent communication system perfected through years of separating the valued from the tolerated. Your gaze catalogs each micro-expression, each subtle signal between employees, the security officer positioning themselves at the precise angle to monitor without appearing obvious. The customer service representative suddenly finding urgent tasks that prevent eye contact. The loan officer glancing up from their desk, then immediately returning to paperwork when they register your appearance. Every movement systematically documented in your mental archive of institutional behavior patterns. The lobby bustles. A wealthy couple glides past the rope without pause. The security officer straightens, smiles, returns to parade rest. The elderly gentleman in the tailored suit receives an immediate greeting. The young professional with the designer briefcase gets escorted directly to the loan officer's desk. All while you stand, patient, observing, collecting evidence with every passing. Second, welcome to the arena of invisible judgment. You advance when summoned with a dismissive finger curl. The teller's eyes barely meet yours. Their voice shifts, slower, louder, as if addressing someone who struggles with simple concepts. We need additional verification for this transaction. Their system never shows these errors for the silk-suited man 2 stations over. His transaction, larger than yours, processes without question. Your request sits suspended in artificial limbo. The withdrawal form, a simple document suddenly complex in your hands. They explain basic banking principles you've understood since childhood. Words drip with condescension. The performance begins. In earnest, the teller gestures with manicured precision towards sections of the form, requiring no explanation. Voice modulated to that special register reserved for those deemed intellectually inferior, each syllable stretched slightly longer than necessary. The mathematical calculations suddenly requiring verification despite the simplicity of your request. Your awareness encompasses both the immediate interaction and its place within systemic patterns of selective service. The terminal screen angled deliberately away from your line of sight. The teller's body positioned to obstruct your view of information legally yours to access. The theatrical typing that produces no actual progress toward completing your transaction. Each keystroke a performance of efficiency yielding artificial delay. Your request, identical to dozens processed smoothly before your arrival, transformed into procedural complexity through invisible reclassification of your perceived importance. Perhaps this branch doesn't suit your particular needs. The manager materializes beside you, perfect creases in their pants, manicured nails drum against imported wood. The suggestion hovers. You don't belong here. Not spoken, but transmitted through 1,000 micro-expressions. The slight physical distance they maintain, the performative patience stretched thin. Their cologne announces status before their words communicate rejection. The carefully calibrated smile containing precisely zero warmth while projecting technical professionalism. The practiced explanation of special circumstances requiring additional verification, always necessary for certain customers. You've seen this choreography before, followed this script multiple times, each movement precisely anticipated, each obstacle catalogued and categorized. You listen to their explanation about special procedures that mysteriously apply only to certain customers. The papers drop, not an accident, a test. Forms scatter across imported marble. You bend to collect them while 3 employees watch without moving. The security officer steps closer, hand still hovering near that radio. The manager checks their reflection in the brass fixture. The teller begins assisting another customer. Time slows in these moments. The bank continues its symphony around you. Keyboards click, printers hum, hushed consultations float just beyond comprehension. You gather each document methodically, your fingers precise, your breathing measured, your awareness expanding to capture every detail. This institution believes itself the gatekeeper of opportunity. They control access with arbitrary rules applied unequally. The senior teller shuffles papers that need no organization. The customer service representative avoids eye contact while assisting someone who arrived after you. The loan officer watches. From their glass office, assessment already complete. You rise, papers ordered perfectly in hand. The smile you offer contains no resentment. The patience you exhibit hides immense power. They mistake composure for weakness, dignity for desperation. Your calm unnerves them more than anger ever could. The maintained eye contact creating discomfort they cannot name. Their expectation of submission denied without confrontation. The space between stimulus and response where true power resides. This space you occupy with practiced precision. Your breathing remains measured while theirs accelerates imperceptibly. The steady hands contrasting with their increasingly restless movements. The psychological advantage shifts invisibly. Your persistent politeness forcing them toward increasingly transparent obstruction, their professional veneer thinning with each exchange, the customer service paradigm slowly inverting as you're composed. Requests expose the hollowness of their explanations. Other customers begin noticing the disparity in treatment. Casual observers transformed into unwitting witnesses. The branch environment subtly reorganizes around this developing tension. This charade continues. System errors that affect only your account. Computer screens mysteriously turned away from your line of sight. Hushed conversations just beyond hearing. The manager's theatrical sigh when you request clarification about these unusual procedures. Their expertise weaponized as exclusionary tactic. Banking jargon deployed not to clarify, but to confuse. Technical terminology introduced without explanation. Policies referenced without citation. The deliberate opacity of institutional language, utilized to create artificial barriers between you and basic service. The Obsidian Inner Order is not a program. It's not a course. It's not some feel-good spiritual retreat. We don't sell answers. We remember together. We teach psychic self-defense, real energetic shielding against entities, implants, and interference. We restore manifestation as it was meant to be, raw, immediate, and exact. Every week we gather in secret, not to worship but to awaken, to speak what can't be said anywhere else, to deprogram the matrix, layer by layer. You'll know if you're meant to be there. You'll feel it in your bones. The chosen meet, every Wednesday on Zoom. Why aren't you with us yet? Got gnosis? Join the Obsidian Inner Order, link in the description. The branch manager approaches again, steps precise against marble. Their cologne announces arrival seconds before they occupy your space. I'll need to verify your identity again. A request they haven't made of any other customer. You comply. Documents presented without protest. The performance demands your temporary submission. They examine your identification with exaggerated scrutiny, holding it to the light, comparing signatures with theatrical concentration. The subtle implication blooms between you. Something must be fraudulent about your existence in their domain. Your presence a disruption to natural order. Every week we gather in secret, not to worship but to awaken, to speak what can't be said anywhere else, to deprogram the matrix, layer by layer. You'll know if you're meant to be there. You'll feel it in your bones. The chosen meet. Every Wednesday on Zoom. Why aren't you with us yet? Got Gnosis? Join the Obsidian Inner Order. Link in the description. The branch manager approaches again, steps precise against marble. Their cologne announces arrival seconds before they occupy your space. I'll need to verify your identity again. A request they haven't made of any other customer. You comply. Documents presented without protest. The performance demands your temporary submission. They examine your identification with exaggerated scrutiny, holding it to the light, comparing signatures with theatrical concentration. The subtle implication blooms between you. Something must be fraudulent about your existence in their domain. Your presence a disruption to natural order. Their words flow with practiced precision. Unfortunately, we can't process this transaction today. Security protocols, system limitations, technical difficulties that somehow affect only your request. The fabricated obstacles pile higher with each passing minute. You nod, understanding completely different things than they believe you understand. Your gaze steady while theirs flickers away. Discomfort growing beneath their practiced veneer. You request documentation of this denial. The manager's smile tightens microscopically. Policy prevents that as well. 5 minutes now. The choreography approaching its crescendo. A younger employee emerges from the back office, eyes wide with recognition, a folder clutched against their chest like ancient scripture. They whisper something urgent to the teller. Information transfers across the counter through expressions rather than words. The atmosphere shifts imperceptibly. The teller's face transforms first, recognition dawning like a cold sunrise. Their posture straightens, eyes dart between you and their screen. The security officer receives a message through their earpiece. Their hand falls away from the radio. The customer service representative suddenly finds urgent business elsewhere. The manager returns. Stride different now. The branch grows quieter, conversations suspended mid-sentence. The telephone at the central desk rings with a distinctive tone that catches every employee's attention. The call transfers to the manager's direct line. Their expression cycles through confusion, disbelief, understanding, and finally, fear. The carefully constructed facade crumbles in microscopic increments, professional confidence dissolving into primitive self-preservation, authority draining visibly from their posture, the psychological armor of position and title suddenly inadequate against unseen forces now activated. The atmosphere transforms through molecular rearrangement of power, employees sensing the shift before understanding its cause, the hierarchy disrupted through invisible communication channels, the manager's complexion shifting through subtle variations of pallor, their hands suddenly uncertain of proper position, the practiced smile now requiring conscious effort to maintain, the voice modulation failing to conceal emerging strain, their eyes darting between you and unseen threat approaching from administrative heights. You haven't changed. Your clothes remain ordinary. Your demeanor still calm. Your request still reasonable. Nothing about you has transformed except their perception. The power was always there, hidden beneath strategic patience. The executive arrives without warning. Different suit, different presence. The entire branch reorganizes around this new gravitational center. The executive extends their hand to you first, uses your title, acknowledges your position. The manager's complexion drains to alabaster. 7 minutes have passed. Now witness the great reversal. The manager was escorted from the floor through the same door you entered. Security, a different officer now, walks uncomfortably close behind them. The teller suddenly discovers efficiency. The loan officer approaches with professional courtesy previously reserved for preferred clients. The customer service representative produces forms that were supposedly unavailable moments ago. Justice arrives, not with thunderous declaration, but with quiet efficiency. Your withdrawal processes without further incident. Additional services materialize. Would you like private banking options? Investment consultation? The executive remains at your side, apologetic but not groveling, professional in their acknowledgement of systemic failure. You are among these chosen ones, selected for your ability to maintain composure when disrespected, to document discrimination without revealing. Intent: to stand as both witness and catalyst for necessary change. Your ordinary appearance, a deliberate disguise shielding extraordinary purpose. The institutions fear people like you, those who expose the gap between projected values and practiced behaviors, who reveal policies that preserve inequality while claiming fairness. The executives understand your power. The managers discover it too late. 7 minutes from denial to dismissal. The chosen ones understand time differently. Know that patient observation creates space for others to reveal themselves fully. Recognize that true power requires no constant demonstration. You collect evidence while they collect assumptions. Store facts while they stockpile justifications. Your silence more strategic than their explanations. The withdrawal now complete, the acknowledgement of wrongdoing documented, the systemic failing addressed, not just for you, for everyone who enters after you. The ripples extend beyond this moment, beyond this building. The chosen ones create lasting change through momentary discomfort. The executive escorts you personally to the entrance. Employees who ignored you earlier now stand at attention. The security officer holds the door with newfound respect. Your exit markedly different from your entrance. Nothing about you has changed except their awareness of who you truly are. Outside, sunlight strikes the same modest clothing, illuminates the same composed expression. You appear unchanged to passers-by, the document secured safely away, the withdrawal completed exactly as intended, the testing concluded with conclusive results. The chosen ones understand that systems resist change until change becomes less painful than continuation, until maintaining discrimination costs more than eliminating it, until those who perpetuate inequality face greater consequences than those who experience it. 7 minutes of revelation worth more than 7 years of gradual progress. Consider what happened in those 7 minutes. How quickly authority evaporated when confronted with accountability. How rapidly discrimination transformed to accommodation when power revealed itself. How swiftly justice arrived once properly summoned. You leave no trace of resentment behind, carry no personal satisfaction from individual downfall. The mission transcends the manager's dismissal, addresses the system that produced and rewarded their behavior, that allowed artificial barriers to arise based on perception rather than policy. The chosen ones understand the weight of responsibility, the burden of moving through the world as both participant and observer, the requirement to experience disrespect without returning it, to document discrimination without demonstrating outrage, to remain professional while being treated unprofessionally. But this power carries deeper wisdom. Each encounter transforms you in ways invisible to those who test you. The cellular memory of discrimination builds resilience but extracts cost. The composed exterior maintained while interior landscapes shift through complex emotional territories. Your training prepared you for professional response, but not completely for personal impact. The cumulative weight of these experiences altering perspective permanently. You recognize patterns extending beyond banking into interconnected institutions. The chosen ones mapping discrimination's architecture across society's supposedly neutral systems. The financial sector's exclusionary practices mirroring healthcare's tiered access. Educational gatekeeping reflecting employment filtering. Housing, limitations paralleling lending restrictions. Each system reinforcing others through seamless transfer of invisible barriers between supposedly separate institutions. The network learns from your documented experience today. Analysis identifies precise mechanism of discrimination. Predictive models update to recognize evolving exclusionary tactics. Training protocols adjust based on successful intervention. Strategy. The chosen ones operate beyond individual experience within collective intelligence structure. Your singular intervention becomes plural education. Your specific documentation transforms into general prevention. The manager now faces unexpected consequences beyond termination. Their professional identity disrupted beyond current position. Their understanding of accountability permanently altered. The certainty that previously insulated their behavior suddenly removed. Their awakening to unseen regulatory systems previously invisible to them. The recognition that observation occurs continuously beyond their awareness. Their worldview fundamentally restructured through 7 minutes of revelation. Consider what awaits them beyond those 7 minutes. The professional record permanently marked, the explanations required at subsequent interviews, the references forever complicated, the confidence permanently qualified, the certainty replaced, with constant awareness of potential observation. Their future interactions with customers fundamentally altered through perpetual uncertainty about who might be watching, about which ordinary person might carry extraordinary authority. This transformation extends beyond single dismissal, the ripple effect through professional networks as story travels without official documentation, the whispered warnings during industry gatherings, the casual mentions during recruitment conversations, the reputational impact extending far beyond institutional boundaries. One manager's visible consequences creating invisible prevention throughout entire industry. The chosen ones understanding that public example generates private compliance more effectively than policy statements or diversity initiatives. Your work exposes the performance gap between institutional claims and operational reality, between mission statements and daily practices, between corporate values and customer experiences. The facades carefully constructed through marketing, contradicted through documented interactions, the ethical disconnection between projected identity and actual behavior. The chosen ones specialized in revealing these contradictions through seemingly ordinary transactions, transformed into accountability mechanisms. The withdrawal request exposed not just discriminatory service, but institutional vulnerability. The manager's dismissal demonstrated not just administrative consequences, but systemic recalibration. The 7-minute timeline revealed not just swift justice, but organizational prioritization of values when properly activated. The executive's arrival signaled not just hierarchical intervention, but entire power structure realignment around previously invisible standards. The chosen ones create positive transformation through strategic discomfort, generate institutional improvement through individual consequence, establish preventative examples through corrective action, their effectiveness measured not through punitive results, but through subsequent service improvements, not through individuals removed, but through systems reformed. not through momentary justice but through lasting behavioral change throughout organizational culture. Your departure initiates complex implementation phase, mandatory training development, policy enforcement enhancement, complaint procedure improvement, monitoring system installation, performance metric adjustment, management accountability increase. The invisible made visible throughout operational structure. The standards previously unenforced, suddenly central to institutional identity. The values previously theoretical, suddenly practical through demonstrated consequences. This understanding requires specialized perception, the ability to distinguish between individual and institutional responsibility, to recognize patterns within isolated incidents, to maintain perspective beyond immediate interaction, to connect seemingly separate experiences into coherent systemic analysis. The chosen ones, selected for this perceptual capacity beyond technical knowledge or professional qualification. Their awareness extending beyond visible dynamics into underlying structures. The chosen ones operate within paradoxical reality, their ordinary appearance critical to extraordinary function, their experience of discrimination essential to its reduction, their individual discomfort necessary for collective improvement, their patient submission required for authority revelation, their strategic documentation creating immediate accountability while building comprehensive case for structural transformation, their effectiveness dependent upon apparent vulnerability, transformed into unexpected strength. You continue forward, carrying complex awareness, the systematic testing balanced against personal impact, the professional objectivity maintained alongside emotional intelligence, the documentation requirements fulfilled through disciplined observation, the intervention successful through precise timing, the justice delivered through established protocols, the chosen ones moving through society as accountability embodied, their presence creating possibility for transformation everywhere they appear, their work continuing beyond this completed assignment into perpetual improvement through strategic intervention. The bank continues operation -1 manager. The security officer witnesses consequences of selective vigilance. The teller realizes appearance provides inadequate information about importance. The customer service representative discovers the danger of arbitrary treatment. The loan officer recognizes assumptions can destroy careers. The chosen ones create teachable moments through lived experience, transform personal discomfort into institutional improvement, convert discrimination into demonstration of consequences. Their ordinary appearance conceals extraordinary impact. Their patient documentation eventually produces impatient accountability. You move toward your next assignment, appearing unchanged. The modest clothing revealing nothing about recent impact. The composed expression hiding satisfaction at systems working as designed. The withdrawal secure alongside evidence of momentary justice. Consider the precise mechanism of this transformation, how requiring documentation of denial created the first hairline fracture in their certainty, how your calm persistence intensified their discomfort, how your knowledge of policies they violated established the foundation for consequences, how your strategic patience allowed their prejudice to fully manifest before accountability arrived. The institution remembers long after individuals depart. Corporate memory preserved through incident reports, training materials, policy revisions. Your 7 minutes extends into years of operational adjustment. The manager's dismissal becomes cautionary legend whispered during employee orientation. The specific details fade while the essential lesson remains. 7 minutes between judgment and justice. The bank continues operation with subtle differences. Additional training implemented immediately. Monitoring increased visibly. Policies regarding equal service suddenly enforced rigorously. The remaining employees hyper-aware of potential consequences. their behavior modified not through moral awakening, but through demonstrated accountability. You continue forward, carrying this victory alongside others, each successful intervention strengthening the network of accountability, each documented discrimination building comprehensive case for systemic improvement, each consequence creating protective ripples, extending far beyond individual interaction. The bank remains standing, but slightly transformed. The marble still gleams, but reflects different practices. The employees still serve, but with adjusted awareness. The policies still govern, but with renewed enforcement. The institution continues operation, but with important knowledge. The chosen ones move among us, indistinguishable until distinguished by our treatment of them. 7 minutes. That changed everything. Your identity as chosen one carried silently forward. The sacred responsibility of exposing systems through lived experience, the burden of maintaining composure when deliberately disrespected, the strategic requirement to appear ordinary while serving extraordinary function, the psychological complexity of accepting discriminatory treatment to ultimately reduce it, the dedication to collective improvement through individual testing, the commitment to systematic documentation rather than emotional reaction. 7 minutes from denial to dismissal, the transaction complete in every sense. The chosen ones continue their invisible work throughout society's institutions, patient, observant, consequential, their ordinary appearance their most powerful disguise, their composed response their most effective weapon, their strategic documentation, their lasting legacy, their impact extending far beyond the visible moment of justice into transformative institutional improvement. You exit into ordinary existence, having temporarily revealed extraordinary purpose. Return to apparent insignificance, carrying significant impact. Resume modest appearance after momentous intervention. Continue forward into the next testing opportunity. The chosen ones perpetually vigilant, systemically positioned, strategically revealing institutional reality through deliberate interaction, creating accountability through presence, generating improvement through consequence, transforming systems through momentary visibility of otherwise invisible standards.